maybe get in front of the. There's some room to. No, there's on here. Ha! I have a laser pointer. Cool. I'm one of the good guys. It's green. Yeah. Thank you, Journey. Wow. I will put it on my webpage. I had a big guy in a yellow shirt asking people to leave. Wow.
With lots of beard too.
Yeah. I need a photo.
Okay. So I think we can start now. So welcome back. And first of all, we have some announcements. Okay, the first one is for the Big Mac. Okay. We have at 15:30 Yarochi, which is doing a RESTful Web API. Okay, so to repeat that at 15:30 in Big Mac. Okay, and don't forget tonight Python Riddle. Okay, at 21. So 21 you have Python Riddle. And now to the to the speaker, which is fantastic and always laughing. Okay, you can introduce yourself.
Yeah. Okay. My name is Harald. I'm in Massa, also going by the brand Lightning Talk Man. Don't look for the webpage, it's still unfinished because I had to prepare my slides. So, I started Python programming something around 2001, went to EuroPython and got addicted to this community and this fantastic language. I promised to have a bad joke at the beginning. Who is using the Debian or Ubuntu? So I have a short version of this talk. It's a cheap shot. But now, you work through this. Who has read this book? Who has understood it? Then you got the next quest. And some completed the mission and even the bonus. Geek Shop went out of business. You created your own web framework. You created your own templating system. Probably your own templating language, very similar but with slightly different quirks than Perl, Python, C or whatever. You have created your own packaging system. That's a new trend. Former times everybody made a web framework, now they're doing packaging systems. So that's a programmer's version of plant a house, plant a tree, and have a song. And the next talk will be different, it will be build a house. So what did we get from this? The housing bubble. In Germany we have the Grenzabstandsvorschriften. That's a real German word. It makes sure that you don't plant your tree that you have to plant too near to your neighbor. And from Have a Son, Guido is wearing a t-shirt Python for girls, and we have to do a lot of work to get more women to our conference because everybody has in his life plan to plant a house, build a tree, and have a son. On Windows, on Python, from solving your programmer's thing, we have more web frameworks than keywords, and I'm so proud that Alex and a lot of people, it's a saying, I'm so proud to have founded it. So, what now? Some years ago, Reinhold Messner, it's a German mountain climber, and this guy was the first person in the whole world, in the whole history, to climb all 14 8,000ers in the world. Now, Thank you. Thank you. I do this joke the same way next time anyway, but it's good. He's Italian, despite the name. So now, if you listen to the motivational speakers and all stuff, you always get the thing, you have to set goals in your life and you have to prepare to achieve them and whatever. So if your goal is to climb all 14 8,000ers, what is the next thing you do? Build a higher mountain? Or it's very difficult. So you did all this computer science stuff. I did not. And now you're looking for other areas to become a better programmer, and that's why you're here. So let's go back to this guy. That's me. Cool. When I was around 18, and At school, I had some different talents. I used physics and mathematics as my central topics in high school, but I also had literature and creating stuff. And sometime I was writing a test in physics, and I knew the answers, and I thought it was too easy, so I started answering the questions in the physics exam in the form of poems. It gave me some freedom. And later on, it's very hard to see, I was experimenting with computer analyzation of literature. You have people studying German literature or English literature or whatever, and they try to compare text, which is more deep, which has more meaning, which is better. And they discuss for hours and hours and do analysis. I just took a compression program, and I took some world-class poems and world-class literature, compressed it, and then I took some business letters that were my applications to get vocational training and compressed them. And I saw the higher the literature in the official graduation, the lower the compression rate is. So I learned there are some fields that may be connected to computer science in a totally weird way. And I want to start with some popular culture. Who knows the Big Bang Theory? Cool. I'm going to quote from Series 4, Episode 3, The Sassy Substitution. It's about Sheldon and Amy. She's not his girlfriend. And there's a sentence would imply, she was my girlfriend. She was a girl who was my friend, who is now a girl who is not my friend. It works because in the English language, especially in America, there's a special meaning to the word friend. She's a friend, and you have to qualify girlfriend. In the German language, it does not work. First thing, we don't call everybody friend we have met. You have to at least be drunk 20 times together. He has to have moved your house and gave you a little puppy or whatever, and then you begin to talk to name him friend. I met an American guy in my second quadrant company. He was with me in London for 2 weeks, and he went to a pub 2 times, and then he told me, I'm going to the pub to meet my friends. So the word friend in the American language has a totally different meaning than the word Freund in the German language. So the translation of this is something like, sie ist eine Bekannte und sie ist ein Mädchen, aber sie ist nicht meine Freundin. The joke totally gets lost. Now, that was the fun part. Now we're going deeper. The German mentality of thinking and the German way of being in the language was like the English with Shakespeare. We have Goethe. And the main thing is Faust, the tragedy, one part. It is something like the Matrix, the big architect, which is God, and Satan doing a plot. So how will Faust behave if he is tempted to do something sinful? Will he revoke his eternal salvation and to go to bed? Will he take the blue or the red pill? Something like that. And this is one of the founding thing of the German language and the German way of thinking. And I also put this here because this is Auerbach's Keller in Leipzig. So I'm promoting the PyCon.de, which will be in Leipzig. My friend Mike is outside, and you can register with him to the PyCon in Leipzig. Now, Danielle promised to help me. Just the situation. It's those people, the big architect, God and Satan, formed their plot to tempt Faust. And he is now sitting in his study room, so the camera moves in. And he was working all the day and studying, and that's the beginning. And one of the most famous parts of German literature, translated to Italian. Would you please read it, Danielle? Oh, in English. Okay. In Italian, sorry.
Okay.
With everything, with hands and melody.
Okay. Mi chiamano maestro, chiamandomi anche dottore. E già da 10 anni o meno.
You can start at the top. It's okay, just one part of this. Yeah, start at the top or at the bottom. It's both right. We just need half of it. Yeah.
Ok. Do I have to start from the top?
From top, yeah.
Ok. Oimè, io ho ormai studiato filosofia, giurisprudenza, medicina e lasso. Anche la gamma teologia. Ed ogni cosa sono andato al fondo con cocente fatica. Ed ecco, povero pazzo, che io ne so ora quanto innanzi.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you so much.
I'm very terrible.
Thank you. You hear the Italian language. It's very melodic. It's very emotional. It's a nice sound. And I always think now it's Valentino will come in. No worries, have dinner. And it's just, this language is very melodic. Now I read it to you in German. Habe nun ach Philosophie, Juristerei und Medizin und leider auch Theologie durchaus studiert mit heißem Bemühen. Da stehe ich nun, ich armer Tor, und bin so klug als wie zuvor. So I put it on the English one. What happened? He used German effectiveness to study philosophy, law, medicine, recto and verso. He digged deep, and he's very frustrated because studying theology was not really effective enough. And he's really frustrated. He's down to the thing. And if you hear it in the German one, it's clear, it's hard, and it's just the thing. This man has really, with German thoroughness, checked everything, and he knows we can't know anything. We can't know nothing. That was fun. Now, to understand this, you really have to have the German version to get the sound. You can have Italian or French or whatever subtitles. You only get it with the language. And my impression is that the same is done with computer languages. There are a lot of ORM managers which try to magically convert Python objects to something you serialize in your database, and you just use Python to query databases. And it works, and we had some talks about SQL alchemy and whatever these ORMs are. But if you really want to feel the database, my impression is you have to learn SQL. The same with HTML and CSS. Over the years in EuroPythons and Pythons, everybody has created his templating system and his language to create another language, and you just add attributes and methods to objects, and you don't have to write HTML yourself. But if you do not learn to enjoy the pain of the DOM, you're not really connected to what is happening in your browser. And that's my first thing in the way to become a better programmer. I did not read those, Knut, and I'm not a computer science guy, but I think just dig into those other languages. Maybe it's not the most effective way, but you really get into the mood of the situation where you will deal. Now, back to former times. That was during my vocational training. That's PC Text 4. That was an text processing system, and it was by IBM and running on IBM/2 machines, and you had very cryptic commands, and I was the one in the company who read the manual, and I knew a lot about it. Later in that company, one thing is missing, colleagues of mine had a problem from a client. That client used SAP software, and my employer was doing services for this SAP software, and they had a challenge. The receipts of stuff going out of the storage had to be printed in 5 or 6 copies. Now, they created paper with 6 copies, but no printer was able to punch through 6 layers of paper. And the software rightfully denied printing more than 1 copy of this paper, because you could take this paper and get material. So one lady was assigned to dig into the assembler code in the IBM mainframe to patch the application to get out 2 copies. And I decided that is not the right way. You have to change the structure the company is thinking. So I began studying economics. And one time I was at the beginning of my studies, now I'm rather at the middle, only 12 years later. And I'm doing it in a remote way, and I ordered course material. And I just clicked on the form, or it was still paper, and I signed in the form, and I got a lot of material to read. And then I looked at it, and I saw it's too much to solve. So what did I do? That would have been one solution, but it was that free version. I bought just more books. And I dug into speed reading and enhanced reading and all that stuff. You see, speed reading by Tony Buzan is one thing. That's the German version, optimales Lesen. There's Evelyn Wood, is an Australian. Remember Everything. I bought it in the United States. It was some self-help. Paul Scheele, photo reading, and that's wissenschaftliche Texte kreativ lesen. It's a German, very exact book. And Legastheny, that's dyslexia. And I just thought, if you think about reading faster, maybe go to the people who cannot read really at all, the dyslexics, people who can't read or write correctly, and look what's there. And I found some interesting stuff there. So some concepts, if we talk about reading and speed, first is words per minute. That's the number of words you are able to read in 1 minute. That's the unit you measure your reading speed. The next is comprehension. That is how much of the text do you understand. I've got some typical reading speeds. Grown-ups without reading in their daily job average around 100 words per minute. Average speed when reading to others, that is I read something, or like Danielle read Faust, it's 150 words per minute. If you, an average reader, used to reading, so like the normal programmer or Reddit surfer, you're around 200 to 300 words per minute. If you did some training in speed reading, you get up to 1,000 words per minute. And the records which have been checked are between 3,000 and 4,000 words per minute. And Paul Scheele claims that you can go up to 25,000 words per minute. So, the first thing that people expect when you talk about fast reading is the correlation between comprehension and reading speed. Some people, mostly bureaucrats, think if you read something thoroughly, you will have 100% comprehension, that you will understand everything and know it in. It's also those notes, don't walk across the grass, get out of this room, come to this film. People expect that you understand 100% of the manual or whatever. It's not realistic. 80 to 90% is a high quota. 60 to 70 is normal comprehension, and 3 days later it's around 30 to 40% what's left. But it's not even this way. It's more like this. If you read very slowly, your mind begins to wander, and you really think about your lunch, your dinner, if you're Italian, or if you're German, about your payments and your taxes and being on time, and if you're Irish, or whatever. Then at some speed, and this plateau maybe with 300 words for the average trained reader, you're going nearly, that's away from 100, something like 80, 90% comprehension. And it's tested by questions about what you read, and I did it myself, it's really that way. And then it begins to dribble down. Now, why should you learn to read faster? I just counted, or I let word count, the number of words in the Python standard library documentation. Python is exceptionally well documented for an open source project, for a software at all. And it's around 500,000 words in the Python standard library documentation. If you're reading at 250 words per minute, which is an average reading speed, it takes you 33 hours to read it. So it's, in France, it would be 2 work weeks. In or if you read at 1,000, it's half a workday in Germany, or 500 minutes. And if you read at 3,500 words per minute, you can do it in 2.5 hours. So that's between breakfast and lunch. So, if you think, okay, I listen to music, just remember, to read the iTunes license at normal speed you need 20 minutes, and it changes with every version. Also to read the iOS you need 43.8 minutes at the normal reading speed. And it also changes with every version. It's a 5.1. But that's not all. If you're working with software, you have to read the AP documentation of big systems, of Google Maps, of Google Keywords, of other sponsors' AP, of other sponsors' AP. The PostgreSQL documentation. You have to read a lot. So I think it's better to have 5% knowledge about the whole library, because every time I need something and I can go back to the real documentation and read it, than to have 100% of 5% of the library. So you know perfectly the HTML module. I think a lot of people do, so they write a web framework. You can read the whole library, so you know all the modules. You have no deep knowledge, but you know it's present and it's something like there. So how does that speed reading work? I'll start with how in my time reading was often taught. People start letter by letter. P-Y-T-H-O-N, Python. So read letter by letter, read a word. Then you see people vocalizing, that is, they move their lips when they read. Or sub-vocalizing, they think about moving their lips in their brain. And it's a little bit faster if you do it only in your brain than when you do it with your lips. But you thought if you read it to other people, you only have 150 words per minute, and we want to get at least to 300. So one of the first things is stopping the sub-vocalization, so trying to not read it out loud silently. Cool. Now the next thing is, I showed to you, you can read single words. Next thing, you get it in optimized lesen, Tony was saying, it's always with different words, but all those speed reading stuff gets to the same. You try to read more of it in one view. Have a whole sentence, have a whole line, or even have 2 lines with one view. There is also using visual aids. That's those holes, those wooden pins you use to pick up your meat, and you use it to move across the words. That way you reduce your jumping back. Because many people think that if you read a sentence word by word, you will understand it. But at least in German language and in English language, often you are only able to understand the sentence when you reach the end. Because you need the last word. So jumping back after 5 words because you did not understand will not help you. It will only cost you time. And with moving something along the words, you can move your eyes faster. Now, the photo reading part, Paul Schiele, that's the totally crazy stuff. Just the fast version. Usually you have the focus on something. You look at it and you have it in focus with your eyes, but your eyes see more than you focus on. That is, if somebody moves in from the right or from the left, you see it. It's called peripheral vision. And this peripheral vision, Paul Schiele states, is processed in another part of your brain. And so the idea is you go through the book with a special kind of looking around in this speed. Maybe you even move with your hand above it so you have something moving because your peripheral vision is trained to look at moving objects. And yeah, it's funny. And so you can get up to 25 to 30,000 words per minute. And now, does it work? I tried it. When I founded my company, I did not really know what to do. I had a lot of ideas what to do, but I was even less focused than today. So somebody asked me, can you do whatever application in Lotus Notes? And I said, sure. And I bought a book this size of Lotus Notes, and I flipped through it with photo reading because it was rather boring. And also, I did not have a lot of time. So I read it, I photo read it, and then I was discussing with them about some topics, and they asked me, is that possible with Lotus Notes? And some way I had information about it and just stated what I thought would be right. And later I rechecked in the book, I went to that page and read it, and I was not that wrong. It was quite what's standing in there. So there must be something behind. He tried to sell it as seminars or whatever. I have the videos, I just watched half of it, but I read the book. It's a nice thing, just try it. Now, you have to remember that information you read. The 500 things. And how can you do this? Can you create structure? And one thing all the more modern speed reading courses teach you are mind maps. Mind maps are created by Tony Buzan. And I have here a sample. You start with the center, you write the topic, Python, then you put in subtopics like Zen of Python, and then you have the unless you're Dutch from the Zen of Python, and you have the standard library, and you would put out more branches to put the subtopics of this topic. Now, if you do it more, you do it on paper, and you see it's a brown paper, it's one of these big sheets, and people put on thicker lines and put on the things, and it's a really, really great tool to structure knowledge, assuming that knowledge is structurable in a hierarchy. Evelyn Wood, in her speed reading book, has something similar. She calls it /recall pattern, because mind map was already taken. And she changes the circle in the center where you put your topic to a slash, just a line where you put your central topic, but the rest is the same. Now, why does mind mapping work? If you go into that self-help business and the speakers, you will get a lot of I call it bullshit about the human brain. Oh, it's so perfect, and there must be a creator, or it's a wonder of evolution, whatever. I read, after recommended reading, The Accidental Mind. In reality, it's hacks upon hacks. The human brain evolved from creatures with less brain, and it was condemned to be a system running for millions of years, and every patch has to be built upon the previous operating system without changes, and every patch has to improve. There were no going back in functionality was allowed. So what happens if you maintain a system about some million years? You are not allowed to cut something out without replacing it with something better, and you have to succeed every time, because evolution will just mendel it out if you are not better than before. You have many areas of your brain, many evolutionary things, and some solutions are done in more than one area of the brain, and especially problems that needed solving a long time ago have been solved in the earlier areas of the brain. And it's like decoding video on the graphics processor in hardware and doing it in software. If you do it on hardware, it's faster and cheaper. It needs less energy. If you do it in software, you're more flexible. Think of the modern brain, the frontal lobe, as software decoding, and think of the former brains of hardware decoding. It's less flexible, but it runs faster and cheaper. Now, in former times, our brain evolved to hunt animals. That are people, that's a cow, that's a water hazard, and that's a tree. No, that's a mountain. And our brain evolved to coordinate hunts. So we have the geographical information system of our brain is very old. To navigate in geography is wired in hardware. It does not work with Google Maps because it's a very old codec, but it's wired deep in us. And all those things like mind maps or /recall patterns or menu systems, Jeff Ruskin talked about this interface design, uses this geographical decoding unit in your brain. It puts stuff at places, and that's why mind maps work. You put stuff at different places, and so you can use the geographical processing unit of your brain to find this information and use your software decoding with high power to try to understand it. Yeah, but the man did not evolve separately. Yeah, there's a lot about this. Yeah, just yeah, you're totally right. I just picked out this one with the brain evolving to have the geography. There's much more about it. About this navigation, I have here a screenshot of Sublime Text 2. I'm not using this editor, but I saw something very nice. He's got a bird's eye view of your code. And I think that's a wonderful idea because you can use this navigational brain. And since I have got a navigation system in my car, long journeys are much more fun because I see exactly where I am or where the GPS thinks I am. To use mind maps, I found FreeMind challenge. It's a Java program, and challenge is to read. It gets very small, but the biggest challenge I have with mind maps, it's a great tool, it's very valuable, but it forces you to think hierarchical. And it's the same thing with classes. Alex Martelli last year had a talk. Sometimes you can't put things in a hierarchy. Is a circle a special case of an ellipse, or is an ellipse a special case of a circle? You can discuss it for nights and beers and wine. It's no clear hierarchy, and that's a challenge with the mind maps, putting the information in. No matter what, it's a nice idea to structure information. The challenges are space constraints, readability, time constraints, and if you begin to structure other people's APIs, often you get more frustration about them. So we have a lot to remember if we are programmers. We need a lot of working memories, function names, call parameters, variables, the set of Python, whom to build for all the stuff. So when I started programming, I was around 15 to 16, and the other interest a 15 or 16-year-old boy besides programming could have is, yeah, right, girls. And it's wired deep in the brain. So I decided to name my jump labels, that's like procedures in the program, with girls' names. And it was very interesting because it was the other interest as a 16-year-old boy. And so it was very nice during programming. Great. Challenges, it was hard to concentrate. Next challenge, it needs stable relationships, or at least to be successful if you flirt. Because else you look at a girl's name and she behaved really bad to you, or you behaved bad to her, or whatever. Somebody else behaved better to her. So it's very frustrating. You look at your code. And worse, if you look 1 year later at your code, you won't understand a thing. So it was a bad idea. But look at the mnemonics. And that's one thing, that's a mnemotechnic, and it's really written with MN. The idea behind all this stuff is connect abstract information with real-world things. So one thing is mega memory in Germany and wherever sold. The idea is you build a list of objects like dwarfs, and how many dwarfs are there? 7, everybody knows Snow White and the 7 dwarfs. So you just picture a dwarf and your brain thinks 7. Then you take a dice. Here it's, oh, it should be 6. You see how great this tool is. You take a dice, it has 6, and then you build your own stories like a dwarf holding a dice, and then you have 76. And it's great to remember magic numbers, like the Postgres standard code. And I really did it for 0 to 10, 0 to 9. and I was able to remember IP addresses and phone numbers. Today I just copy and paste them. It's much easier. And it's also, that's a German thing, mein Vater erklärt mir jeden Sonntag unsere 9 Planeten. My father explains every Sunday, my father explains to me our 9 planets. Now, Merkur, Venus, Erde, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. Now what's the challenge? Yeah, totally. These mnemonics, it takes a lot of time to come up with these sentences, and it's great for static information. But then they cut out the planet, then 9 is wrong and planets is wrong, so the sentence makes no sense. And you get this information stored in your brain and you can recall it, and it's only a little bit slower than if you Bing it. It's much slower if you Google it. You can remember shopping lists, but it's of no use. If you don't write down what you're going to buy, you will buy other stuff, because the people staffing the department stores are trained to make you buy other stuff. So, in other words, it's rather useless for programming. It's a nice exercise, and I have a fun fact. Mega Memory was a commercial system, and in the long run they lost because they said, oh, we'll make you a photographic memory, and even for people with lower IQs. And I really did this seminar, and in the German language we have Gregor Schraub, a very nice guy, and he's not making that big promises. He just explains, if you use the system and if you work hard with it, you will be able to remember your shopping list, various telephone numbers, and it's really you do. The use is less, but he gives promises and the promises are fulfilled, so he's very fine and he's doing very well. It's very fun seminars. He's a great speaker. The guy in Kevin Trudeau who sold it in the United States made more promises, could not deliver, so whatever. Now, getting to a slower pace. Do you know that situation when you sit at your favorite editor and your code just flows into your fingers, and you remember every AP and every call parameter, and you know 20 variables by head, and you just write it? Have you ever felt that? Do you feel it often? Yeah. Some call it flow. That's Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. That's a special state of mind where you're challenged and everything flows. Some call it the programmer's zone. And there are a lot of myths. You can only reach it for X minutes a day. Those shall not be disturbed because you need a lot of time to get into it. That's all the myths. And that's a flashback. When I was starting my education training, long before, a long time ago, nothing legal, any matters. Mr. Barschel was a German politician, and that's a famous picture going around the world. He was found dead in his bathtub. There were a lot of conspiracy theories. But later in this, there were discussions if he was taking Zoloft. Zoloft is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. To explain, your brain functions electrically and chemically. And there are some chemicals like serotonin which transfer information or create some situation in your brain. A lot of different opinions about it. The idea is that if you don't have enough serotonin, you are very unhappy. You get depression and all the stuff. And it's used with some success, I think, for people being depressed. But if you have a drug that can make depressed people function normally, if you give it to healthy people, they should be happy. And that's what happened. Some people took Zoloft, and I was very curious that time. That's over 20 years ago. And I was prepared to write a test at school. And a friend of mine was in the medicine field, and he gave me one of those tablets. And I took it, and I was in that test, and it fucked up with my brain chemicals. So I had the feeling I was writing down the test, and I felt like marching through a labyrinth, and the questions were at the doors, and I just opened them, and I saw the solution. It was a nice feeling. And yeah, why train millions of years if you can just take some drugs and do it? It's the same with caffeine. Who thinks he needs caffeine to really be effective? Ah, you already quit the drug. Same with alcohol. Challenge is, your brain and your whole body is a system that tries to stay in balance. And if you put in drugs, it will learn to cope with it. If you put in testosterone, help us to get more muscles and to be more manly, your glands will reduce their normal testosterone production just to even it out. And your glands will produce female hormones to even it out. Also, modafinil, it's a drug that was taken for pilots flying, and it makes you very alert. You are totally awake, and you are highly focused, and you can work with it, but it also takes a large credit of your energy. And after some days with it, you are totally exhausted, and then you are 2 days offline, so it all evens out. So I experimented with it. It was a nice experience, but in the long run, it did not pay, because you were 3 days very productive and 3 days totally unproductive. You couldn't do anything, so in the end, you could have worked 6 days normally and played golf. It would have worked the same. Now, I had a severe case of procrastination. And I was at another conference. I learned to talk to somebody who did hypnosis, and I got hypnotized. And I decided, oh, that's a nice idea. Who knows about hypnosis? Okay, it's an interesting field. The idea is the mind works in different modes, like Vim or Emacs, edit mode and right over it. And hypnosis puts you into trance systems, trance states, where your mind is processing information differently. Who is feeling a chair pushing against his backside? Yeah, and 2 minutes ago nobody felt it. Your mind is programmed to take out things that are not relevant at the moment and just ignore them, and if you focus on it, you get it. And I got this hypnosis, and it reduced my procrastination by whatever. And it's something like in hypnosis, you are supposed to talk with the subconscious, or however you call it, to put in information. And I learned that the common thing we have about trance being is just one way. This trance phenomenon is very, very similar to the programmer's zone. And the trance is also taken in other ways. There are tribes who still hunt, and before they go on a hunt, they dance and they jump and they have rhythm music, so they get in a state of focused attention, of high alertness, to be able to hunt down animals, to be at peak performance levels, and that's also kind of trance. And I decided, oh, that's quite like the programmer's zone. You're in high alert, whatever. And I went to those hypnosis people. Milton Erickson was a big guy in the United States, and he founded institutes. And I asked him, oh, programmer's zone, it takes a long time to get in, and you only can do it 20 minutes a day. And he told me, why? If you exercise something, will you be better at it or will you get worse at it? And I learned, you can learn to go faster into this trance state. And I did some education. I got a certificate. I'm trained in hypnotizing people, and I mainly did it to get to my system programming and patch in the BIOS of my brain. And it sometimes works, but it's very challenging. And this is, to get into trance fast, I landed with meditation. Now, there's a big challenge in the Western world because religion took most of those processes in their own power. You have the prayer, you have the sermons on Sunday, and all of that stuff working with these areas and functionalities of your brain are monopoly of the church. And there's often said it only works because God and whatever, but it may be right. But I know from those studies that these are just normal functions of your brain that you can learn to access. One big challenge with meditation and Zen meditation is if you try to look for it, you come a lot of things like homeopathy, crystal power, energy bands, baking without water, dancing without music, all that esoteric stuff. And somewhere you find stuff about meditation. Then there's this kind of sitting, and if you get a teacher telling you something about meditation, he tells you you have to move your knees behind it so the energy flows correctly and all the stuff. Maybe it's correct. I have no real tests about it. I just learned if I sit in this way, it's good enough. I have 2 minutes. It fits. If you sit this way, you don't fall asleep. Because if you lay down and you're tired, you fall asleep. So it's uncomfortable enough to be awake and to be alert and to be in the now. And it's not that bad like standing where you will, it's hard. So for me, it's just, if you sit this way, you can do this for a long time, at least 15 minutes, and still stay alert. And then there is a lot of stuff explaining what you have to do and mantras. And good thing is, those Zen people, they are not very commercially oriented. You can just go there and they tell it to you. I have a short version for the programmer. It's hard to see, so I'll explain. Who's ever done system administration tasks? Cool. So I'm using the Kishati web framework, and it's using SCGI. So it spawns a process for every worker to deal with the requests. Now, if you update the software and you're still in development mode, I have got 5 processes running. And what you do to update it, you kill one of the processes, or try to kill it, and you have one left. And then you kill the next one, and you kill the next one. If you're better at system administration, you use the thing where you get the tree of the processes, and you kill the parent process. And that's the thing you learn with meditation. Meditation may sound, whatever, and big things and ancient knowledge. What I experience is just the single user mode of your brain. And you know it if you have to do something very difficult with your operating system, you boot it in single operation mode. If your database has crashed, you restart it in single user mode and fix the indices. So meditation, I learned, is a kind of single user mode for your brain. And that concludes this talk. My recommendation, check out fast reading. Get one of those books. You can even find them illegally on some sites. Mind maps, just check them out. The rules are very simple. You can buy this book for not a lot of money. You can use my Amazon referral link. Read about those brain things, hypnosis, and try out those meditation things. Don't let yourself be pushed back by all these, it's energy flowing, and you have to push there, and you have to sit exactly that way, and you have to be in black clothes, all the stuff. Just try it. So, now we have questions and answers.
Yes, anyone want to ask a question? Oh, no.
Federico.
Does it work? Yes, it does. It's just a technical question. Since you know the techniques of it, do you think that fast reading techniques could work in a meaningful way with electronic books? Since I think most of us are.
With what?
Electronic books, so on iPad, on Kindle, on screen.
It's a special challenge. We have 2 things. One thing, reading websites on the screen. Reading on electronic books. I tested it with a Kindle. I think those touch screens are not really helpful because it's too much interaction and it's too slow. Kindle is just fast enough to do it. The good thing about the electronic readers is you can adjust the size of your letters and read them. And I think it works with it. And you can even do that photo reading because the Kindle you can flip quite fast through the pages and it works. The challenge is those photo reading guys usually deal with the legal profession because they read a lot of stuff. And so they did not focus on the needs of us programmers, like reading big source codes. And there is not a lot of research in reading those source codes. Yep.
Anyone else?
Ah.
Right. Sorry.
Yeah, it's about this zone or flow thing. There is opinion which was pronounced by, I guess, Uncle Bob Martin in his book Clean Coder. So his opinion is that flow is harmful in a way. It's harmful.
Harmful,
so it's
yeah.
not something you want where you want to be because it harms the social aspects of the coding. You may be feeling that code flows from your deepest zones of your mind, but then it's nobody else will understand it, and probably you yourself won't understand it later.
I guess it's a fair warning. What I showed you that picture about the hunters getting in trance together, and I think it's just one thing that we are very uncomfortable thinking about those other states of minds. I know from my contact with those hypnosis things, in other cultures they are doing healing with hypnosis. And in the Western culture, you get hypnotized and then he makes you not smoke or something. In that culture, the guy doing the healing gets into trance and feels what's wrong, and some way or other he heals the person. So I think if we find a way to get into the same flow state together, that may be a new part of pair programming, but I understand the danger. Yeah.
Anyone else? All right. Then thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Very, very much appreciated. Also, I would like to say another announcement that at 17:30 near the restroom, we will have a poster session. So, in case. Thank you very much.